MS1, Block 1, Unit 4. Management skills. We'll go to the objective first. So what is the management skill? Let's find out. You may be a variety of reason to undertake the study of this unit, but we would assume that your main aim to study this course is to improve your skill as a manager. Therefore, the objective of this unit as a whole is to help you improve your skills at work. In previous unit, the management process are described. In order to perform your role in each of these processes, you need to possess and exhibit a range of skills. Therefore, in general, we say that an effective manager needs skills to plan, control, organize, lead, and finally to take decision. In such case, a manager must exercise a unique set of skills. 4.1 Planning skills. As part of the management process, you attempt to define the future state of your organization. You are not trying to predict the future, but rather to uncover things in the present to ensure that organization does have a future. Hence, planning skills will include: first is being able to think ahead. Next, ability to forecast future environmental trends affecting the organization. Next is ability to state organizational objectives. And next, ability to choose strategies that will help in attaining these objectives with respect to future trends. And last is ability to arrive at performance standard or yardsticks for monitoring the implementation of these strategies, etc. With growing complexity in the operations of large organizations, managers are expected to acquire skills to interact with intermediate planning systems such as computer. 4.2 Organizing skills. As you have been planning specifies the future course of direction of an organization, the organization process follows the planning process. While planning specifies what will be achieved, when organizing specifies who will achieve what and how it will be achieved. To understand the organizing process involving the people and job in an organization, let us discuss a situation in a bank. Suppose you happen to be teller, a person who sits behind the service window in a bank. Your job requires transacting deposits, withdrawal, cashing and checks. Also, you may have to secure the approval of bank manager before you could cash a check for person who is not a regular customer of your bank. Here, the manager's order to directive will define how much authority you have to do things on your own. Besides, your work may also be surprised by your immediate superior officer. Hence, organizing involves identification of specific jobs, grouping of jobs of similar nature, number of jobs to be included in the specific group, of deciding how many people a manager can effectively oversee. An integrated network of people, their jobs and their working relationship ultimately constitutes the structure of the organization. Therefore, the organizing skills can be broadly spelled out as ability to analyze and describe various organizational jobs, and ability to select trends and include people in job, ability to draw working links, that is, define authority and span of control among people, and the last is ability to change these working links whenever there are major changes in the environment or technology or strategy of the organization, etc. Another example you may make it clear to you as to how the manager utilizes his organizational skills when major changes takes place in the environment or technology or strategy. Suppose you happen to be a doctor in a village where you are in charge of organizing a hospital for centering to routine and non-routine or emergency facilities. You know that more facilities are available in city hospitals, such as provision of regular ambulance service, wide range of medicine and service of doctors and nurses, etc. At the time of dealing with the emergency case, you should rush to the city hospital. You have to organize yourself and your co-worker to access how crucial this responsibility becomes when you have limited resources available with you, yet you want to achieve the best you can. 4.3 Leading Skills. Leading people requires that the leader must understand the values, personality, perception, and attitudes of these peoples. As an individual, you act differently from another individuals because of your values, personality, perception, and attitudes. This is very important factor to be understood in relation to the other person who may be your superior or subordinates. Let us carry out the following activity in order to understand each of these factors. Value is a conviction that a person holds about a specific mode of conduct and the importance of that conviction to the person. For example, you given below are certain work value. You may like to rank the 3 important values you would like to pursue at work. The ranking should be done in order to importance you attach to them. Value at work is be honest, work hard, be free. Next, be productive. Next, know the right people. Next, live in the right places. Next, be tolerant, save time. Next, find the better way. If you compare your 3 ranking with your superior or subordinates, there are possibilities of difference with him. These differences have to be taken into account when we deal with people and use the values that are most important to them to motivate them to work. Personality is a sum total of personal traits or characteristics of an individual. It is also a conglomeration of the forces within the individual. Our personality is determined by our physical constitution, belief, and value in our culture and the situations which have unique influences on us. You may like to rate yourself on some of the primary personality traits as given below by Cattell 1973. You will find out that all that you have marked for yourself has a basis in your physical constitution, belief, and values, some significant situations in your life, your family background, age, temperaments, etc. You and the person you work with certainly differ in these respects. Perception is the process by which individuals organize and interpret their impression of the environment around them. Hearing, seeing, or smelling, or feeling, or tasting the stimulus come before we process and interpret it. In picking up a stimulus, processing and interpreting it, often a reality and perception are distorted. Individuals always try to minimize the changes in perceiving anything. Managers and subordinates, for example, distort messages or others' opinions are behavioral pattern. You may like to select a stimulus in a particular way. If you happen to be a very go-lucky person, you will pick up the humorous part of the movie that you saw and discuss about it. Your prior experiences, your emotional state, your needs, and your expectations decide why you like to emphasize the happy event in movie rather than the sad ones. You may even emphasize some aspects more and ignore other aspects. Between you and your colleagues or superior or subordinates, perception of the same movie would vary a good deal. Attitude is a person's tendency to feel and behave in a particular manner towards an object or a person, such as organization's selection program or a manager's planning approach or a colleague, etc. You cannot directly observe it, but its consciousness can be observed. Attitude are learned. They have three aspects, that is, cognitive, affective, and behavioral, only one of which, behavioral, can be observed. The cognitive aspects of the attitude refers to the belief, perception, and ideas about your attitude towards a person or objective or situation. The affective aspects of the attitude refers to the feeling and emotion about your attitude towards a person or object or situation. The behavioral aspects refer to the action aspects of the attitude. The following examples may clarify the three aspects of the attitude of individuals. Cognitive aspects. Your attitude towards your subordinates may be you like to see results of the work done by him or her, while appreciating the work details. Your subordinates may be interested only in results without having any interest in the detailed explanation of the work. Both you and your subordinates show your individual perception, belief, and ideas about your respective attitudes toward work. Affective aspects. You may have strong feeling for getting a promotion, but may not have strong feeling for receiving a meritorious award. Your attitude towards work is influenced by such feelings. Next is behavioral aspects. Your subordinate may be a hard-working individual. He is interested in achieving results without ever holding any discussion with you. He does the work that lead him to achieve. You can only observe his behavior towards you. You can observe his perception, belief, ideas, emotions, likes or dislikes directly. Expect his behavior or action. From his behavior, you may like to infer his beliefs or ideas about you and feeling for you. All of us come and join an organization much after we have learned our attitude. Leading skills require understanding and working with different people. Thus, the management skill of leadership reflect our ability to influence followers by understanding the leader's own abilities and his impact on others. The skill is based on the interaction between the leader, behavior, and situation in which it is applied. The leading skill applied to a management situation can be understood from the figure referred to the book. 4.4 Controlling skills. The skills of controlling consists of action and decision which managers undertake to ensure that the actual results are consistent with desired results. In planning for the organization, the management sets the objectives which are the derived result for the organization to attain. Any deviation between the actual and the planned results must be corrected by the management by taking appropriate action and decision. In these skills, therefore, management has a predetermined standard, the information about the performance of the organization, and a corrective action in case the standard set by the organization is not fulfilled. You may like to know how the controlling skill is related to the other form of management skills we touched upon earlier. The manager gets a feedback about the performance of the organization and accordingly takes decision. He uses his motivating and leading skills to control and regulate the performance according to his earlier planning. For example, you happen to be a manager of a production unit. It is your duty to check whether the target's desired results of productions of the goods in terms of output, quality, time, cost, and profit have been achieved. Whenever you have failed to achieve any one of the above five aspects, you must try to correct the situation by reorganizing your planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision making activities. 4.5 Decision making skills. Decision making skills are present in the planning process. They pervade all other areas such as organizing, leading, and controlling. You will appreciate the simple difference between a manager and a non-manager insofar as manager make all the decisions at all level in the organization. Think for yourself at the level you are, and whether you take a good or bad decision, it will ultimately influence in a big or a small way your performance. Hence, management skills of decision making for routine or non-routine problem is a time consuming activity and certainly poses a challenge to the manager for making a number of important decisions, good in quality and satisfactory in producing the solution to the problem. A manager's effectiveness lies in making good and timely decision. Again, remember, in the decision making process, you may like to decide on repetitive or routine problems, processing admission applicable in a college or preparing a patient for an operation in a hospital are example of routine problems. Such routine problems are different from complex novel problems. Example of novel or complex problem are constructing new classroom facilities in a college or reacting to an epidemic. Don't you think you need to be more creative in solving these novel or complex problems rather than going by rules, procedures, and policies that already exist in your organization? Whether it is a routine or non-routine decision, you have to first is identify and define the problem, second is develop alternative decision, third is select to decision which will solve the problem, and fourth is implement that decision. At the end of the input on the five management skills, you may like to identify the various skills of a branch manager of a bank. You combine job task like various jobs of people, technology like the know-how of work, and resources like financial, material, environmental, etc. To maintain the objective of the bank, you may consider the various aspects of management skills such as planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision making. A manager is responsible for combining and coordinating the people, the technology, the job, task, and other resources to effectively achieve the organization's objectives of an organization. You may be a manager in charge of constructing a plant or managing a bank or supervising a group of life insurance agent or training a football team. In most of the situation, you have others who are your subordinates reporting to you. The subordinates themselves may be manager having subordinates below to report to them. Therefore, we walk of level of manager in an organization. 4.6 Levels of managers. The first level managers. These managers are in direct contact with the employees who usually produce the goals or service outputs of an organization. They are referred to as supervisor or foreman in some organization. You may be associated with the employees who directly produce goods or render service outputs. Hence, you may belongs to the first level managers. In some government offices, the superintendent of the office supervising the work of typists, dispatch clerk, etc. belongs to this category. In the industry, it is a foreman who is in direct contact with the rank and file workers producing goods or services. The middle level managers. The managers are those which a number of responsibilities and linking or connecting activities. They direct and activities of the first level managers. For example, a district educational officer or a block development officer belongs to the middle level with the principals of schools and gram servers reporting to the direct educational officer and block development officer respectively. The top level managers. The top level managers are a small group of policy makers responsible for the overall strategic management of the organization. It is the responsibility of the top manager to develop the objectives and strategies of the organization. It is the top management that must sense the demands of the political, social, and competitive environments on the organization. A president or a chief executive or a district magistrate are example of the top managerial level. 4.7 The managerial skills at various level. These skills refer to the personal ability put to use by the manager in specific position that he or she holds in the organizational hierarchy. On one moves up in the hierarchy for of the managerial position, the responsibility increases. The fundamental functions of the manager such as planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision making are the skills required to the mastered by the managers. In order to exercise these functions, one has also to keep in mind the type of jobs, the size of organization, the skills of experiences of the people one work with, the time available at his disposal to do these management functions. Karch 1974 talks to three types of skills that are recognized by all managers. These are the technical, the human, and the conceptual skills. The use of these skills differ for various level of managers. Let's understand the skills first and then see how much each skills is used at various level of managerial hierarchy and what importance each has in the career growth of a manager. A. Technical skills. It is the ability to work with the resource in a particular area of expertise. A surgeon must know how to do surgery. An accountant must know how to keep the accounts. Without the technical skill, one is not able to manage the work efficiently. The first line supervisor in a manufacturing industry need greater knowledge about the technical aspects of the job compared to his top boss. In a small manufacturing organization, even the top boss who owns the company needs to know a lot of technical skills. You will appreciate that technical skill implies an understanding of and proficiency in a specific kind of activity, particularly the one involving methods, processes, procedures, or techniques, it is relatively easy for us to visualize the technical skills of the surgeon, the musician, the accountant, or the engineer when each is performing his own special function. Such functions involve specialized knowledge, analytical ability within the specialized field, facility in the use of tools, and the techniques of the specific discipline. In an age of specialization, technical skill is perhaps the most familiar one required of the greatest number of people. Cards pointed out that mostly the vocational and on the job training programs are concerned with developing these specialized technical skills. In your desire to become an efficient administrator, particularly at the first level, this skill becomes indispensable to efficient operation. As a supervisor of a set of workers, you would like to ensure of your worker have sound grounding in the principal structure and processes of their organization, their individual specialty, along with actual practice and experience during which your workers are watched and helped by you as a superior. This appears to be the best way to develop the technical skill. A workshop superintendent knows how to ensure that his technician is well equipped with the technical skill required for the work. An office superintendent ensures that persons working with him are having adequate technical skill for typing, shorthand, preparing draft, etc. for doing their job. Quite a lot of training programs for equipping the people with technical skills are going on all over the country in industries, hospitals, banks, and educational institutions. As you move up in the managerial hierarchy, perhaps this skill becomes relatively less important than the human and conceptual skills. In a relatively small organization where you yourself are the owner and at the top management level, you need a lot of technical skills yourself. B. Human skills. Human skill is a manager's ability to work efficiently as a group members and to build cooperative effort within the team he lead. Every managerial level requires managers to interact with other people, whereas technical skill is primarily concerned with working with things, processes, or physical objects. The first level manager is involved on the regular basis with the personal problem and life events of many non-managers. It is therefore natural that he or she must be able to work through these personal situations and effectively lead subordinates. He or she has to perceive and recognize the perception of his or her superiors, equals, and subordinates, and his or her behavior subsequently. If you have a highly developed human skills and if you are aware of your own attitudes, assumptions, and beliefs about other individuals and groups, you are able to see their unfulness and limitations, and you are likely to accept others' viewpoint, perceptions, and belief which might be different from yours. Your human skills will help you to build a work atmosphere of approval and security where people working with you as subordinates feel free to express themselves without fear of being ridiculed and to participate in the planning and carrying out of those things which directly affect them. You feel sensitive to others, reactions to your actions, and you will act after taking others' perceptions into account. Your human skill thus becomes a continuous and natural activity with you, so that where whatever you say or do or leave unsaid and undone leaves a effect on your associates. Perhaps your true self will be seen through by others. In others to be an effective manager, your human skill must be naturally and unconsciously developed, as well as consciously demonstrated in every action of yours. For example, you want to boost the output of the production unit in an industry by introducing a conveyor system. You must keep in mind how to make your subordinates accept the situations of top speed production through this system with which they are not familiar earlier. You must also make sure that the person whom you place in charge of the workers or operators is acceptable to them in creating a right attitude towards his conveyor system, towards the production goals, how much output per day to be produced, or what standard of production have to be attained. These are the human factors in productions which cannot be ignored. Introducing computerization in a large office setting which has a number of users to interact with may create problem in the beginning, as it amounts of increasing the efficiency in output with the relatively lesser number of persons. If you have to introduce the system, you may like to talk to the persons about its outcomes in terms of increased efficiency, gearing the skills of the people towards various activity of feeding the data to the computer, maintenance of the computer data, etc. in order to make them appropriate the introduction of new system, creating the right kind of attitude and absorbing a number of people for similar skills to take care of a special and large number of users of the system can reflect your ability to deal with people. The most important single skills of a manager is to have the ability to deal with people. This is a challenge to your human skill, especially in the context of our country with a vast number of people waiting to be observed in job, more so when we are planning to computerize the administration in various work sectors. The human skill can be developed without any formalized training for some. Many others to the individually added by their immediate superiors, who themselves should process the human skills in order to be able to impart that. An important part of the procedure is the self-examination of the individual's own concept and values, which may enable him to develop more useful attitude about himself and about others. With the change in attitude, there may also develop some active skills in dealing with human problems. You as a superior may like to observe your subordinates' ability to work effectively with others. You may probably improve your own human skill of rating people for their effectiveness as you become more experienced in this art. C. Conceptual skill. This skill means the ability to see the organization as a whole, and it includes recognizing how the various functions of the organization depend on one another. It also makes the individual aware of how changes in any one part of the organization affect all the others. It extends to visualization and relationship of the individual business to the industry, the community, and the political, social, and economical forces of the nation as a whole. Thus, the manager gains insight into improving the overall welfare of the total organization. As a manager, you should have the ability to coordinate and integrate a variety of factors. You need to view situation and determine the interrelatedness of various factors. The success of any decision depend on the conceptual skill of the people who make the decision and those who put into action. For example, you are trying to introduce some change in the working policy in your manufacturing organization. It is very important to know the effect of such a change on production of goods, control, finance, research, and people involved in these processes. Finally, it is equally important right down to the last executive who must implement the new policy, so as every level of the management, no matter which level you belong to, you have to recognize the overall relationship and significance of the change in order to an effective manager. The chances of your success as a manager are greatly increased. Look at the organization as a whole and try to understand the interrelationship of its part while introducing a change in policy. Introducing a change in marketing policy of your goods, for example, will require to see the effect of this policy on all the factors under input, processing and output aspects of the organization. Your success as a manager heavily depends on your conceptual skills or creativity ability to perceive and respond to the direction in which the business should grow. Organization's objective and policy and stockholders and employees' interest. You can, by virtue of conceptual skill, be in a position to change the way of doing business in your organization compared to another. Although it sounds as an abstract thing, one can try to develop the conceptual skills in many different ways. You may like to coach your subordinates to develop his managing potential. Give him or her a responsibility to and see if he or she asks you a question or seek your opinion. You may like to answer his or her queries in response to such searching questions. Of course, a lot depends on your interest and willingness to help your subordinate. Yet another way is to rotate your subordinate on various types of jobs which expose him or her to different functions of the business but at the same level. This is to say, one can, for example, be put in commercial job for sometimes dealing with sales, again and production job, observing the process of production on the shop floor and taking part in it if needed. You may like him or her to experience a bit of design aspects of the product, which gives him or her insights into the research and development activities. In most of the leading private and public sectors, job rotation is a significant part of the young and promising graduate's apprenticeship training program. This gives him a chance to be in the other fellow's shoes. You may also like to involve your junior to advise you on policy matter. Some real problems can be posed to make your subordinate understand broad management policies and interdepartmental coordination. Like human skill, conceptual skill must be a part of executive makeup of the personality. Different method may be used for different people suiting their background and experience to develop their personal skill in viewing the organization as a whole system and coordinating and integrating its different parts. Conceptual skill compared to technical and human skills is more important at the top level of management. At the first level, one has relatively few factors to consider. Technical skill is responsible for many of the great advances of modern industry. It is indispensable to efficient operation. It has the greatest importance at the lower level of administration. As the manager moves up in level, the need for technical skill becomes less important. If he has skilled subordinates to help them solve their own problems, when the manager reaches at the top, technical skill may not be existent, but which a highly developed human and conceptual skill, he or she may still be able to perform efficiently. Human skills Human skill in you is required at every level but with difference in emphasis. If you are a foreman, your chief function is to attain collaboration of people in the work group with whom you have direct contact. If you are a middle level manager, your human skill is utilized for facilitation of communication in the group. At the top level, this personal contact decreases and the human skill is used less, and your conceptual skill become increasingly more important with the need for policy decision and broad scale action. You start considering the environmental forces, the resource flows, and the functional managerial skills such as planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision making. If you happen to be capable and alert, perhaps you can make out a kind of built-in sense of dependence of employees and on superiors and use it to your advantage. Sinha 1980 has shown how in Indian context the leader nurtures the subordinate by creating in him a sense of dependence on the superior. Such kind of development adds to the productivity of the workers provided. The superior is consistent and predictable in his behavior. For example, you may have observed that there is superior who really recognizes the interrelationship of all the activities under his control, identifies himself with a organization, sublimates the subordinates nearest interested to his interest, sets his goals realistically and shows his subordinates how to reach this goal. 4.8 Institution building, a skill of the top executive. Now that you are familiar with the skill of a manager, you would like to know about the institution building skills of the top executive. In the position of a manager and with your technical, human, and conceptual skills, you will appreciate the fact that along with efficiency of the organization, you are also equally concerned about achieving better satisfaction of employees, their welfare, their development, which might create an impact on the society and their morale. On the other hand, you may be interested to achieve as well as maintain your position of a leader as you move up to the top level of the organizational management. Hence, you can make your organization effective. If you can achieve all that you set as goal for your organization as mentioned above. Role of the top executive. This requires a kind of managerial skill that helps in providing an institution or organization. Parikh 1981 assumes 8 main roles of the top level executive which are required for institution building. First is the very first role of the identity creating role of the top level manager. You create a special place for your organization by making it unique in one or more than one respect. You may have good employee welfare measures that make your employees happy. You may also be known for your technological innovations, and users of your technology outside your organization are happy about it. Thus, you are known with your identity with the above two areas which are created, and you have also made or established your organization's identity that way. The second role is the enabling role of the top level executive. Your job here is to develop various kinds of resources such as main material facilities for work as well as good work atmosphere. Your men can be trained and updated in their skill. Your materials or inputs as well as output can be multiplied. You can even give employees a very challenging as well as satisfying atmosphere to work by knowing their ability as well as willingness to work. You can certainly improve their efficiency as well as morale. The third role of the top level person is the synergising role. You may feel that you have to multiply your resources, both human and material, to achieve the goal of your organization. Collectively, these resources can contribute to the goal of the organization. It means much more than mere aggregate of main or material or money. It means proper utilization of main material and money, particularly when such resources are scarce. This role of the top executive is a challenging one, as he or she has to uniquely combine resources with their maximum utilization. Fourth, the fourth role is known as balancing role of the top executive. Your role as a manager is to make your subordinates conform to rules, expectations, regulations, or procedures. If you have to achieve the goal of the organization, such conformity may not be so much stressed that it destroyed the creative potential of the employees. How can then the organization grow? Allow your people to be creative, to be able to move in new direction and respond to the new challenges and pressure from the environment. Thus, a balance between the conformity and creativity should be maintained by you. The organization can stabilize its work process and people to achieve the result as innovations are made by the people to move in new directions. Fifth, the fifth role of the top level executive is the linkage building role. As a top manager, you have realized the social obligations of your organization to the benefits of your organization as well as the community and society at large. You may like to link your organization with other technical or financial organizations or government agencies or policy making bodies who may have similar goals like yours. For example, your research and development unit of the industry can have link with a similar unit in educational or research organizations. You may also like to get support from financial institutions to develop your research and development activity. You may like to link your activity with the community where you work. The Rural Development Center's activity at a technical education institution can be very well linked with community development programs in rural areas on issues like health, sanitation, education, etc. The sixth role of the top executive is the futuristic role. You may like to expand or diversify or change or recognize your organization for meeting new demands and pressures. You should be prepared for the importance of the role your organization can play in future. Seventh, making impact is the seventh role of the top executive. This means making an impact of one's organization on others. A leading manufacturing organization of a product can be very influential in several ways to influence the policies in the field in which it operates. Example of electronic goods such as television, transistor, calculators and computers are not rare, where superior technology in the manufacturing process is ever on the increase. Eighth, last but not the least, is to provide superordination to the employees working under the top executive. You can done by giving a sense of fulfillment to the members of your organization by building in them a sense of pride that they are working in a very important field of the working, which is so important for the society. For example, members of a fertilizer or oil or steel organization would be very highly motivated and satisfied people as their work is of importance to the society. In sense of pride has to be brought out you as a top manager. Top management skills. You might have liked various roles that the top person in the management plays to build an institution. Most of the institution building activities require the top person to attend to some very important functions. Important functions of the top managers. First, building an efficient and strong team of people at the middle management level so that they can really work for him and the organization. You as a top person can always encourage some persons to learn some of your management as well as managerial skills to keep the organization functioning by their strong and mutually supporting activities. Second, you may like to monitor and review the functioning of the organization as at different time interval to ensure correct way of functioning. You may also make sure that your team of people are open to problems of their own groups as well as appreciate problems of their similar kinds occurring at various levels in other organizations. Many times we are successful in resolving our problems concerning people on their work by borrowing experience of others. Third, you may like to search for competent people at all levels and reward them for their competence and dedication. Your search for competence is a significant way to enhance the competence of your organization. Fourth, as a chief executive, you have to keep in touch with and share ideas with policymakers and planners as well as intellectuals who bring in deep insight to understand and plan for the future. You may like to join meetings and debates of such nature which will make you think about your own skills in this regard. You may like to develop in yourself a kind of skill to be involved with the organization yet remain detached about it. In India, this sense of remaining detached yet knowing what is happening is one of the very important work values existing in our culture and tradition. You may be deeply involved to become a very effective top person in the day-to-day operation of the organization as its result, yet you should also be detached from people and situation to observe your own activities and experiences to learn about a different approach to your organization. 4.9 Summary. This unit deals with the skills of the manager in essentially two ways. One in which the functional or applied aspects of management skills such as planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and decision making are put to use, and the other in which skills of the manager such as technical, human, conceptual enable him to function as a person as well as how to develop these are dealt. Reader about the skills required to play various roles of a top executive to build an institution. The unit concludes with 5 specific top managerial skills of competent team building, periodic reviewing, search for competence, liaison with other organizations, and involvement with detachment. Thank you.